Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. And please, before we start, please like this video, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and then you also press the notification bell, and then you'll get updates on this very sad case or any of the other cases that we're following. Thank you. So in this video, I'm going to do a very deep dive into this case, this very sad, all the cases are sad, but this just seems especially sad coming up to the holiday season. Well, if you're Jewish like this couple are, you're in the holiday season. It's Hanukkah. This actual terrible act, the murder, the stealing of the lives of these two people, Rob and Michelle Reiner. Rob, of course, a very famous actor, director, Hollywood legend, and his wife Michelle. And they had 3 children, and they lived in Beverly Hills. And unfortunately, very sadly, on Sunday, they were found deceased in their own home. And, trigger warning. It was a very brutal way they died, let's say, involving a knife and involving actually their throats. So very brutal, determined way of killing somebody. I mean, that's not just you didn't mean to kill them. When you attack somebody's throat with a knife, they're not going to survive it, are they? So it was a determined attempt to kill them, a successful attempt, but it always was going to be not so brutal that you just cannot imagine, can you, why anybody would do that to this couple. And even more shocking, of course, then the news has come out that this is the man that is accused of killing them, their own son, Nick, one of 3 children they had together. And Nick, I think you can just tell from that photo, he looks like he's got some issues. And ever since he was a young teenager, he's had issues with drug addiction. And he's been in rehab from that age off and on. He's had recoveries, he's had relapses, he's had times when he wanted to start using again himself, that he's self-admitted. And he's in his 30s, and I imagine that this couple, this poor couple, have had absolute, angst over that boy. I think it brings up so much a wider issue as well of drug abuse in teenagers, etc. Now, and mental health issues and how you cope with it. So we're talking about a couple here who had plenty of money. They could afford the psychologist, they could send him to rehab, they could do as far as money's concerned, the best treatment that money could buy was used for this boy. But it didn't work. And in fact, in the end, it's actually resulted in not only, it's hard enough to have an addict child, isn't it? But for it to result in your murder, because they won't have wanted to cast him adrift. He was living in their home in like the guest house on the property, not in the actual house where they lived, but in the same property. He was living with them. Although he's in his 30s, and they probably could have bought him a place to live in, far away from them. But I expect he wanted to live there. They worried about him. They thought they could fix him. And of course, it turned out they couldn't fix him because he was too far gone one way or another. And it's very curious, this case, as to why he did it on that particular day. As I say, it was Hanukkah on the Sunday. Now, we're not sure exactly when this horrible event happened, whether it was the Saturday before. And we're talking whether it was a Saturday night before. So you may be watching this sort of later on. So let me actually give you the dates that we're talking about. So they went to a party apparently on the 13th of December 2025. They went to like a holiday party at the home of Conrad, a guy called Conrad. Sorry, his surname escapes me. He's a very famous person in America. I don't know him so well, but they went to a party at his house on the Saturday, the 13th of December, and they took their son with them. I think this couple have probably tried to include their son in everything they did, because they knew he had these mental health issues and he was back to using, as I say, he has had periods of time where he's been clean. But they said to friends they didn't know what to do with him. My heart just goes out to them, because it just shows you, because you think that, oh, well, you can get psychologists, you can get the rehab, you could buy him somewhere to live. They wouldn't want him to live on his own, because they'd think that would, he needed them and they could help him. They've probably helped him all his life and he's thrown all of it back in their face, and then actually even resulted in murder. So apparently they had a big argument at this party. Voices were raised, everybody heard about it. Rob and Michelle apparently were sort of mortified, embarrassed at Nick's behaviour at this party, not only with them but with other people. So it makes you wonder, is it when they got home from that party on the Saturday night that the event occurred, or was it the following day? So it wasn't until the following day when they had an appointment with a masseur, and the masseur turned up to do their massages, couldn't access the property. So she phoned their daughter, Romy. Let's have a family picture up here. I think she's on this picture. Yeah, this is Romy, the daughter, with Nick. Apparently they had a very fractured relationship. This is Rob and Michelle's other son, and here is Nick. Again, something I've noticed on all the photos of the family together. This is all of them together, isn't it? You've got Rob, Michelle, and the three adult children. Nick, he does look uncomfortable, he looks not too, on this particular picture, I wonder if this is when he was in remission, like drug, he was not taking drugs, because he looks actually okay there. But I think on most of the other pictures that you see of him, he looks uncomfortable, he looks sad, he looks almost deranged. I think this particular picture, his eyes, you could tell that he's not 100%, And then he had opened up about his addiction, and he had made a film, this film being Charlie, which Rob directed and probably put into motion for him. And this was about, not only, it wasn't autobiographical, but it was about, things he'd seen while he was sometimes homeless or in rehab or on, in the height of his drug addiction, etc. So it was a story, although it wasn't particularly about him, it was a bit of an amalgamation of all the things he knew that people have to go through when they're addicted or when they're homeless, etc. Being Charlie. And Rob had directed that, and it will have been him who's helped it come to pass, of course, for the film to be made. And that seemed, I bet at that time, it's very sad, because it seems at that time, I expect Rob thought they turned a corner, that finally, after all these struggles with their son from when he was 13, 14, 15, or however old he was when he started taking drugs. They probably thought they had turned a corner, and very sadly, although they may have done at the time, it did not last. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? I just think this couple will have done everything they can for this boy, you know, and it's very... So the introduction that I played to this video, this is a Christmas video that I made a couple of weeks ago now, the Silent Night, and remembering that Christmas, a lot of people, you know, looking forward to Christmas and they'll enjoy it, but there's a lot of people out there for various reasons that won't be looking forward to Christmas or any holiday activities, because it always seems to bring things to a head. The holidays, seasonal things, not only Christmas, but Hanukkah or Eid, you know, depending on what you celebrate, birthdays, Valentine's Day, you know, Independence Day, all these big sort of dates always seem to, you know, there always seems to be real big tragedies around these times, doesn't there, for one way or another? So it made me think, this particular case, I know there'll be a lot of families out there, not only in America, in the UK, in Australia, in Spain, everywhere. I know for a fact there'll be a lot of families out there with young adults who are going through issues, you know, in their and these are going to come to a head over Christmas. There are lots of parents out there who live in fear of their own children. And of course, we know that in past cases, these sort of things that, you know, look at Gypsy Rose Blanchard, her mother was murdered. There's loads, there's so many cases of parents being killed by, now with Gypsy, of course, she had experienced a lot of, you know, her mum hadn't been the best mum in a lot of ways, had she, because of all the deception in that sort of dynamic that they had. But there's lots of other cases where it's, you know, 1 minute these kids are children, and then the next minute puberty comes along, they start taking drugs, they get involved with a bad boyfriend or a bad girlfriend, they start drinking, they start to hate their parents that they once thought were fantastic, suddenly they're not fantastic anymore, and resentments build, and, you know, drugs especially, I'm sorry, I think it's definitely drugs in particular, distort a lot of these people's memories, and, you know, they start accusing their parents of being horrible to them, and maybe sometimes it's true, you know, nobody's a perfect parent, but I think sometimes the wrongs are imagined, you know, that some children, if you like, they just grow up with this chip on their shoulder, no matter what their parents do for them. And, you know, it seems like, unless it's going to come out later on that Rob and Michelle were abusing Nick or whatever, you know, like is he going to use that defense like the Menendez brothers? Well, it was unsuccessful, of course, and it all turned out to be a load of rubbish. So it was, you know, with the Menendez brothers, not only they murdered their parents in cold blood, but then they tried to, you know, disgrace their memory by saying they were abusers and this, that, and the other. And I just don't believe any of it. I think they're Nepo babies, like this boy, man, you know, he's in his 30s, he's a man. They're Nepo babies. They were given every, you know, what's the word, possibility in life, you know, financially comfortable, their parents trying to set them on the, you know, do the best for them. And they turned out to, you know, hate their parents. You know, it just makes you think, my God, you know, I've seen people whose parents are horrible to them don't end up doing things like this. And I think with Rob and Michelle as well, they had 2 other children who didn't feel like this. So that, you know, Nick obviously felt, for whatever reason, he was like the odd one out or the black sheep of the family. But he created that himself. He did the bad things that made him like the bad sheep of the family. And now culminating in this, and God knows how his brother and sister feel, their parents have been taken away by their own brother. You know, it's just they must be so angry with him. And then it's sort of combined with the fact that he is their brother. I expect there's a love for him as well. You know, just the sort of love you have for your families. But, you know, you don't choose your family. So apparently they're not allowing him, they're not giving any money for him to be bailed or anything. He should. I don't think he can get bail now, but initially there was bail available for a certain amount of money. But I think now that he's been charged, I don't think there's any bail available for this boy, and there shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any, because he's a danger, because anyone who could do that to his own parents is definitely a danger to society at large, isn't he? So there's so much to tell you about this case. I almost don't know where to start with it. But I think where we'll start is where it all sort of began. So just what happened then was on Sunday, after poor Romy was alerted by the massage therapist that she couldn't get access to the home. So Romy went along there, let herself in, and found her parents deceased in the most gruesome way that you can imagine. Now, we don't know, as I say, whether that happened the night before, directly after the party where the argument was, or did it happen on the Sunday morning? Now, I know that later that day, believe it or not, they had plans with the Obamas, with Michelle Obama and ex-President Barack Obama. They were supposed to be going round there for sort of holiday drinks. Can't say Christmas drinks, it was Hanukkah. And the Reiners are Jewish, so that would have been, it was the Festival of Light, wasn't it? And it's, so initially, I was listening to an ex-FBI agent speaking. We're going to listen to her talking, because she's Jewish too. Initially, she thought this was an anti-Semitic attack, like because it happened on the, you know, the Bondi Beach scenario had just happened, you know, first day of Hanukkah, Festival of Light. And initially she thought, and probably a lot of people thought, because nobody would have thought initially that this could possibly be, you know, a member of the family that would have done this to these people. But so it was thought that maybe some sort of anti-Semitic attack, sort of linked sort of loosely to the Bondi Beach thing. You know, would there be a series of these attacks all over the world against Jewish people? Anyway, I think it was Romy or the other members of their family that said quite quickly to the police, you know, one of the members of our family is dangerous and we think it's to do with them. And that, of course, is Nick. So so that made things very complicated because Nick lived on this property. So as we go along, you'll see some people talking about this. It makes it complicated for the police to just enter, you know, for the police to enter into a property, even though there's been a homicide, a double homicide. Other people live there, so the police need permission. But in this particular case, they're looking for permission from the probable perpetrator. And when they first went in there, he wasn't around Nick. Nick had left, and it's alleged that he went to a hotel and he was eventually apprehended wandering the streets. And we're going to see that arrest. We're going to see a video that was released of that arrest. And apparently, again, allegedly, the hotel where he had gone to was covered in blood. You know, he'd gone and checked himself into a hotel. And I noticed that they said he'd used a credit card. Well, you know, this boy didn't have any money. This guy didn't have any money. Did he use one of his parents' cards? Or maybe they did give him a card. So maybe he had an allowance that he had so much he could... you know, use every month. I don't know, but of course, what's first thing he's going to do is go out and buy drugs because he's back by then he was back on them with a vengeance, you know. Yeah, we're not sure exactly, you know, when it happened. But what we're going to look at first is the very first police conference that was given, which is generally accepted now to be a complete disaster. It was not handled well, let's say. So that's what we're going to just look at first. We're going to look at the very first press conference. So notice it says here, LAPD holds press conference after 2 people found dead at Rob Reiner's home. So they hadn't even declared who it was yet. And this hapless guy sort of came out and did a rushed press conference. And, you know, I do sympathise with the police in cases like this, because obviously it's Rob Reiner's home in this age of social media as well. Information gets out, so they've got to get out there quick and say something. But they shouldn't be too quick to say things. You know, in fact, sometimes it's even better to just go out there and say, look, we can't say anything yet. Because it's generally accepted, I think, that he made a total cock up of it. But let's see.
I understand there are going to be questions regarding what occurred here tonight. I will not be able to provide information in a lot of areas that questions may be getting asked, but I'll do the best I can. So at approximately 3:40 this afternoon, Los Angeles police officers, along with the Los Angeles City Fire Department, responded to the 200 block of Chadbourne Avenue here in the city of Brentwood. Upon arrival, we determined that there were 2 deceased individuals in the residence. The Los Angeles Police Department is now conducting an investigation at this residence here on Chadbourne, and that investigation will continue over the coming days. We will not be releasing any information regarding who was found deceased in the residence, because that will be done by the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office. So if there are any inquiries regarding the identity of the individuals that are deceased inside of the residence, that information will come from the LA County Coroner's Office. The current death investigation that is being conducted by the Los Angeles Police Department is going to be handled by the Homicide Special Section of Robbery Homicide Division of the Los Angeles Police Department. That investigation will move forward through the night, and tomorrow morning we will probably have additional information regarding what occurred here on Chadbourne and our investigation moving forward. We will not be releasing any further information regarding the investigation that is occurring here in Brentwood tonight. Our detectives will be responding along with our Forensic Science Division and our Technical Investigation Division investigators to conduct a full crime scene investigation and determine the appropriateness of the investigation moving forward. At this time, the Los Angeles Police Department is not seeking anyone as a suspect or as a person of interest or in any other manner, and we will not be doing that until we conduct our investigation and we move forward.
Now, I think that was a silly thing for him to say, not seeking anyone as a suspect. Now, the police don't have to tell the truth. And as somebody was saying on one of the podcasts I was watching, the police don't have a responsibility to give out information to the public. The only person or people that the police have responsibility to in a case, in a murder, in a homicide, is the victims and the families of the victims. So, you know, for him to say there wasn't a suspect, he's perfectly entitled to say that, even if they had 20 suspects. He doesn't have to tell the truth. He's not responsible for the public does not have a right to know about early investigations, like it or not. There is obviously, think some things are in the public interest. If there's the thought that there might be a felon on the run, like who's dangerous, then I suppose they've got a responsibility to keep the rest of the population safe, etc. But basically, they don't have a responsibility to give information to us because we want to know, because we're interested in the case. It's nothing to do with us, really. At the end of the day, it isn't. They weren't appealing for any help from the public. That's interesting in itself, really. because normally they would say, anybody who can offer any information to this terrible thing that's happened here, please contact us. But I noticed that they didn't say that. I think he was perfectly aware by then who had done this, or they were suspected of doing it, who Rob and Michelle's family were, the other children would have apparently said that it's a member of the family that is dangerous. This hasn't come out of nowhere. Nick hasn't just, there's been a history of him being aggressive, violent, etc. But not, that doesn't mean to say that anyone ever expected it would come to this. So yeah, I'm not sure why he's saying this really, but anyway, he is. So he did make a bit of a cock up, let's say. I think of this. Most people are saying this first press conference was a bit of a disaster, but to be fair, I think he did it. I think this was almost too quick, isn't it? Often we criticize the police for not acting quick enough, not coming out and giving us official information quickly enough. A prime example is the Celeste Rivas case that we still don't know anything about. That the Anna Kettner case at the cruise ship. When the thing is, once the police will just be thinking, as soon as they discover a homicide, their next thought is, once they think they know who's done it, is aiming towards the trial and making sure everything is done properly. So when it finally comes to a trial, which might be 2 years down the line, everything is in place and everything's been done properly and nothing can be called into question at the trial.
That's all I have right now at this early preliminary stage of this investigation. If you have questions that I can answer, I will answer them. I would just ask you, please, if we do not have the ability to answer the questions, that you remain patient over the coming hours and over the coming days. Starting tomorrow morning, we will be responding and providing additional information as it becomes publicly available.
We're being told that a family
who actually made the call that brought fire department and police officers, has that person known and you release who it was?
So we understand that the person reporting was here at the location. We're not going to release any information regarding the identity of that individual at this time.
We're being
Chief,
told that
why
a
are you not
family. We're
looking-
being told that.
Hold on.
Pardon me.
Hold on,
We're being,
one at a time,
we're
please.
being told that a family member is being interviewed in connection to these deaths. Can you confirm that? And is that family member being cooperative?
There are going to be many family members interviewed. I'm not going to confirm whether someone's being interviewed at this time or not. We're going to try to speak to every family member that we can to get to the facts of this investigation.
Chief, why are you not looking for a suspect?
I'm sorry.
Chief, why are you not exactly looking for a suspect? Are you confident you know who did this?
We have not identified a suspect at this time.
Well, then shouldn't you be looking for one so these neighbors aren't worried about their own lives and their own safety?
Yeah, so at this time, after we determine, so I need everyone to understand something. In order to comply with the legal process, before we do anything here, we have to get a search warrant because there are issues regarding standing at this residence. So as long as those legal requirements are met, we can continue the investigation. Now, when I tell you that we have not identified a suspect, it doesn't mean that we're not working the case. We will not identify a suspect until that person is identified as a suspect and we're legally seeking them if there is a crime to be reported and if that person is a suspect in that crime.
Has anyone been?
I mean, sorry. I mean, I do honestly, and I always sympathise with the police in these situations. But what the hell word salad was that? Let's just listen to that again, what he said.
Until that person is identified as a suspect and we're legally seeking them if there is a crime to be reported and if that person is a suspect in that crime.
Has anyone been?
So at the end of the day, we now know that this poor couple were found with likely, again, not been confirmed officially, but with their throat slit, bless them. So if there's a crime that's been committed, I mean, it's just so silly to say that. You didn't have to go into details and say, but it was obvious it was a homicide. So it's complicated them going into the house because other people lived there. Now, if they went to a house where, you know, the couple who owned the house, who lived in the house, were found deceased and nobody else lived there, they wouldn't need a search warrant. They'd just be straight in there, wouldn't they? And, you know, examining the scene. But at the end of the day, not only does somebody else live there, but the other person who lives there is the likely perpetrator. So they've got to tread very carefully. And that's basically what he's trying to say. But I don't think he planned it enough. He's what he was going to say, you know, and so he got caught out in that ridiculous sort of mumbo jumbo that he came out with.
Hold on.
Alan,
Did that answer your question, sir?
No.
Okay,
Has anyone been detained yet for questioning? Are you questioning people now that could be possible suspects and or a person or persons of interest?
Specifically to your first question, no one has been detained. Specifically to your second question, no one is being interviewed.
What were the
As a
injuries? What were the injuries? We're being
We're
told
not
that this was
gonna
a stabbing.
Yeah, so we're not gonna comment on the injuries at this time. That information will be coming forward in the coming days as it's publicly releasable. If it is part of the investigation and it is not publicly releasable, we will not be releasing it.
Deputy Chief, are your detectives inside the
Hold on. One at a time. Whoa. Hold on, one at a time. This gentleman is next.
He's not very good at
inside
handling.
the home right now? Are they getting access to the home right now as we speak?
We're waiting for the legal process to move forward. We have to obtain a search warrant for the residence. As soon as that is complied with, we will be conducting a full crime scene investigation of the interior and the exterior of the residence and the surrounding neighborhood.
Just to follow up, Deputy Chief, is there somebody from the family not allowing detectives inside the home right now?
That's inconsequential. We have to comply with the legal process. It doesn't matter whether the family allows us in or not.
Detective, what other?
Hold on, ma'am.
Had a family members been notified? The victim's family members been notified?
Has the family been notified of what? That an incident occurred here?
That there were two victims?
I believe the family's aware.
In other words, why are you not releasing their names? They're out there, Chief.
That's going to be the Los Angeles County coroner that releases the information.
Chief, is this a homicide?
Ma'am, go ahead. Your question first.
Yes, is this a homicide?
At this time, it's a death investigation. Again, until we get inside and we make a determination, we can't call it anything. So we're going to conduct that Hold on. We're going to conduct that investigation at the appropriate time. We will identify what kind of incident it is. And if it's determined to be a crime, we will seek the suspect. We will bring them to justice and we will take them into custody.
The mayor has
One
confirmed
more
it's the
question,
Reiners.
sir.
The mayor has already confirmed it's the Reiners.
Oh.
Can you tell us any more?
I can't
about
speak for the mayor, but I can speak for the Los.
So the mayor had already confirmed it was the Reiners. So there, this guy stood there. He's done. I think this press conference is too early, and I'm a great believer in getting information out there as soon as possible. But this was too early. He can't say anything. It's made him look a bit like a fool, really, especially because the mayor has come out and said it is the Reiners. Everybody knew it was the Reiners. So perhaps if he would have waited just that next couple of hours till he had something that he could actually say, it might have helped with this conference. And although, believe me, I feel for him because I think it's very difficult. The thing is, this case is going to be massive because this guy, he's famous. Rob Reiner is famous. You know, he's like part of sort of, you know, Hollywood sort of royalty. He knows so many other famous people. So, you know, he knows everybody. Everybody except Donald Trump, of course, the idiot Donald Trump, has come out universally to say, you know, what whether they believed in his politics or not, you know, what he did, the service he did to sort of film and think, you know, with his films, when Harry met Sally, A Few Good Men, etc., Misery, Stand By Me. You know, this guy, he's been iconic as a director and he was an actor in the early days. So, you know, it's just going to be massive. Do you remember all the big hullabaloo when Gene Hackman was found deceased and there's not supposed to be any foul play involved there? I personally have my own ideas about Gene Hackman. I think maybe Gene Hackman, maybe Betsy, his wife Betsy, maybe she befell some foul play. And then, anyway, that's another story for another video, which I will do one day because it's something that's bugged me for a long time. But see all the fuss over that, and that was not supposedly a homicide, and this is a double homicide involving the son of the couple. It's just, and not only that, all the witnesses that will end up having to go to court and stuff like that, the people that were there at the party the night before at Conrad's place, they'll all be well-known people. Everybody, this case is going to generate so much attention right from start to finish, because there's the tragedy of it all, that being the son, it's almost Shakespearean, isn't it? The drug addiction, there's so many facets to this story. It's just going to be huge. And so this guy, bless him, probably should have waited a bit longer, shouldn't he, before he came out, and he had nothing to say, really. Couldn't say anything that people didn't already know. And in fact, people knew more, because of social media and because the mayor had come out and said this. And, this is the way of the world these days. So he perhaps came out too soon because he had nothing really that he could say, except that he couldn't say anything.
Los Angeles Police Department, the Los Angeles County Coroner will identify the decedents that are inside of the residence.
Detective.
And that will be, that will be the official notification and the official identification of the decedents inside of the residence.
Under what circumstances were the bodies discovered?
I'm not going to address that.
Can you give us
Ma'am?
more details about needing the warrant and the family not letting you in? Can you just explain more?
Sure. There's
about
a
that?
legal process whenever you're going to conduct an investigation at a crime scene in the state of California. There are certain requirements that you have to meet in order to conduct a thorough investigation. So you don't want to start a crime scene investigation and then have someone say,
Yeah.
I need you guys to leave the residence right now. So we're going to, hold on, you asked a question, I'm going to answer. So we have to comply with the legal process. Once the warrant is signed and delivered, we will have access to the crime scene. We will conduct a full, thorough, impartial investigation. We will conduct additional investigations in the neighborhood around this area. And then with that information, we will go forward with the investigation, whether it is a death investigation or some other type of investigation. Appropriate time, we will identify.
And you can see that, and I do appreciate it, because at the end of the day, the son lived on that property, so there's other people involved. And the son goes and lawyers up, and then the next minute the lawyer's there, and the lawyer's saying, hang on, what are you doing entering this property? Or he might not say it at the time, but when it comes up to the court case a couple of years down the line, they challenge the fact that the police did it all wrong. So I know what he's saying. They have to do it right. They've always got to have their mind on a future prosecution, and they don't want to affect that future prosecution. And I tell you what, they are right in that, because when you find out who this man has for his lawyer, the alleged perpetrator, who his solicitor is, who his lawyer is, they're going to have their work cut out.
What kind of incident it is, and if it's determined to be a crime, we will seek the suspect, we will bring them to justice, and we will take them into custody.
The mayor has confirmed it's the Reiners.
Sir.
The mayor has already confirmed it's the Reiners. Can you tell us any more?
I can't speak for the mayor, but I can speak for the Los Angeles Police Department. The Los Angeles County Coroner will identify the decedents that are inside of the residence.
Detective.
And that will be, that will be the official notification and the official identification of the decedents inside of the residence.
Under what circumstances were the bodies discovered?
I'm not going to address that.
Can you give us
Ma'am?
more details about needing the warrant and the family not letting you in? Can you just explain more?
Sure. There's
about
a
that?
legal process whenever you're going to conduct an investigation at a crime scene in the state of California. There are certain requirements that you have to meet in order to conduct a thorough investigation. So you don't want to start a crime scene investigation and then have someone say, I need you guys to leave the residence right now. So we're going to, hold on, you asked a question, I'm going to answer. So we have to comply with the legal process. Once the warrant is signed and delivered, we will have access to the crime scene. We will conduct a full, thorough, impartial investigation. We will conduct additional investigations in the neighborhood around this area. And then with that information, we will go forward with the investigation, whether it is a death investigation or some other type of investigation.
Besides robbing,
And
his wife, were there other people?
And I do want to be clear. Hold on. I want to be clear with one thing. Wherever we can be transparent and provide information to the public, we will release it as soon as we can.
It's been
Is there an understanding about when the decedents may have passed?
No. That's going to be determined by the coroner. The coroner's not here.
It's been about 6 hours since the first report. Why is it taking so long to gain access to start this investigation?
I don't understand.
Well,
it's
been 6 hours since police were first called to the scene. Why is it taking
just to
so
be
long
clear,
for this investigation?
just to be clear, there's an initial investigation when the patrol officers arrive. When they make a determination that detectives are needed, they will back out. We will conduct a sweep of the area to make sure that it's safe, and then we will comply with the legal process, and then we move forward. I'm not giving you the exact timeline on that, but I'm telling you that it's moving forward. Pete, you had another question.
Yes, a twofold question. One, how soon do we anticipate getting a warrant?
It is a problem, isn't it? Because it's not like this on the telly, is it? You know, when you see a program about a crime, it's like police swoop in, don't they? They swoop in, they're straight in there, you know, before you know it. But obviously it's just not like that in real life, is it? And it's difficult because they're fighting against the way these things are represented on the telly, aren't they, on Netflix and stuff. It's not like that, of course.
Where you're able to search the entire property, interior and exterior. Second, do we have an ETA on the coroner's arrival? And once they arrive, make an initial determination, will they be able to give you identification that you can then release?
We'll be obtaining the warrant in real time very shortly, if we have not obtained it already. In terms of the coroner's ETA, I cannot tell you when their estimated time of arrival is.
Chief,
We're already in communication with the coroner's office.
But as far as the overall investigation is concerned, beyond the initial determination, we have two scenes inside. We really haven't done anything in the way of any kind of forensics on the death scene itself, right?
That's correct. We've only done preliminary investigation at this point.
the bodies remain inside, correct, Chief?
No, okay, so nothing has occurred inside the house. The house is in the exact same state it was when the officers arrived, just to be clear.
Chief, are we safe in Brentwood tonight?
I'm
Are
sorry?
we safe in Brentwood tonight, Chief?
I can't hear you.
Are we safe in Brentwood, the neighbors of the community?
Oh, are we safe in Brentwood? I'm sorry. Yeah, so we have officers here at the scene. We have officers in the area. We're not looking for anyone in the Brentwood area at this point. We're not looking for anyone because we're still working on that part of the investigation.
Chief, besides the Reiners,
Hold on.
Now that's funny, isn't it? He said we're not looking for anyone. So had they already arrested him by then, maybe? What does he mean they're not looking for anyone? You know? Because this Nick had left the property and he was arrested outside the property. He must have already been arrested by now, because how can he say we're not looking for anyone? You're looking for, you've got two dead people there. He knows their throats have been slit. He knows all the details, even though he might not be able to say them. So that's a silly thing to say, isn't it? We're not looking for anyone. Of course, then it makes it sound like it's a murder-suicide or something. So, yeah, he did cock this up.
Someone over here had a question.
What can you say about the fact that it's been reported it was the son of the family?
I don't understand.
Rob Reiner's son is
What reported by who?
people?
Okay, I don't know. People magazine or people in the. I don't know anything about that. Yeah, that did not. Hold on. That did not come from the LAPD. Go ahead.
Chief, can you give us a sense of how many witnesses, if any, you guys have been able to talk to? Are there people you've been able to already touch base with who've been giving you useful information in terms of what unfolded inside that home?
So we've already been talking to the neighbors. We've already been canvassing the neighborhood and speaking to residents that live around this area. So that's part of our investigation. In terms of someone that may have information regarding what happened inside the residence, we're not going to release that information. That'll be part of the investigation.
were there other family members living?
There's been no reports from the neighbors regarding hearing anything or seeing anything that we can release to the public.
Were there other family members residing inside the house besides Carl and his wife?
I don't have that information.
Timeline of this murder.
Wow.
We haven't established that yet. We will establish that soon, and then that'll be part of the investigation.
Cause of death.
The part that is publicly releasable, we will release. The cause of death will be released by the LA County coroner.
Are you looking into them being stabbed?
We're looking into getting the information from the LA County coroner when it's available.
Were any
Somebody had a
weapons found at
question.
the
Yes,
scene?
ma'am.
Okay, where in the home they were found?
We didn't say.
Were any weapons found at the scene?
We didn't say anything about weapons either.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Again,
We'll
Alan, we're
release-
calling this a double homicide,
So
correct?
we're calling it a death investigation at this point.
Why
So
is the
I-
robbery
just to be-
homicide unit involved, sir? Are you able to explain that?
Well, it's a homicide. Yeah.
So what's the robbery?
So So after saying, oh, it's a death investigation, then somebody said, oh, well, it's a homicide. So, yeah, it was a complete, just, it was a mistake. The press conference was, maybe not the press conference was a mistake, but he didn't handle it well. I think he wasn't prepared enough. That's how I look at it. But do you know what? I feel for him because, as I say, they're in that position where everybody wants instant answers. He can't give them, but he decided to go out there and do something. And I think it backfired on him personally. But anyway, let me know what you think, of course, in comments. Do you think he was right to come out and do that conference, or do you think he just dealt with it so badly he would have been better off, not bothering, sort of thing, really, maybe? Okay, so then, in the meantime, maybe as that press conference was happening, or maybe before that press conference, we don't know as I say, we don't know the timeline, but we do now know from this video, this was Reiner being arrested. So we allegedly know, we don't know for certain, that he apparently went to a hotel somewhere. He was outside the residence initially. Now, how the police closed in on him, I don't know. It might be in his phone, mightn't it? 'Cause if he had his phone with him, of course, you can trace where people are. Or it may be that somebody saw him. This is Exposition Park on December the 14th, 2025. Let's have a look. And there's Nick. Just looking listless, and there the police just go in there. May even be that Nick himself phoned up and handed himself in. He was in this gas station store. Do you think he phoned the police and said, look, come and get me? He's just wandering around aimlessly. God, if that guy knew what he'd just done, this guy allegedly just slit the throats of his mum and dad. And he's wandering around, probably just doesn't know what to do with himself. I wonder what he was thinking. I think he'd probably be regretting it, because at the end of the day, his family, those parents of his, had done everything they could to help him. Unfortunately, failed, as many parents do, because it just makes you wonder, what can you do to help these people? And I'll tell you what, if, I think anyone looking from the outside, if you've never experienced this either in your own life or with your family, seen it for yourself, if you've never walked the walk that these parents had to walk, don't matter how much money they had, how famous they were, they could not help this guy, although they tried their very best, and it resulted in them losing their lives. I mean, it is so tragic, but they will be the ones. Nick, now he'll have no one, because the rest of his family, how they're not going to, imagine how his siblings are going to feel. He's taken their parents away from them. Everybody's going to hate him. The only people that loved him and kept giving him another chance were his parents, and that they're the ones that he's killed. So I wonder how he felt about all this as he was wandering around. Did he even register that now, he's just like bereft? Would it even occur to him? Was it that far gone with psychosis, etc., that he just can't think? That's how a normal person would think, isn't it? Even if your parents annoyed you, you'd know that your parents, I think we all know, as much as our parents are irritating when we're young like that, and we don't think they know anything, do we? But really, I think down inside we know that they love us, and we can turn to them if we need them. Most of us. I mean, I know not all parents are brilliant. I understand that. But, in general, did he even comprehend that? Or did he really think his parents were just so evil, that they had to die? Or I remember hearing a policeman say on some other true crime case I was watching that suicidal, in his opinion, is the same as homicidal. And that struck with me, stayed with me. When someone's suicidal, when they give up all hope, that's when they're most likely to kill other people as well, because they've they've got no filter by then. They don't care, because most people would not, wouldn't kill other people because, just morally you wouldn't do it. And it's not easy to kill other people. But some people, when they're suicidal, when they've lost all hope, they don't care, do they? They don't care if they go to prison or they get shot or, they've gone past that. They don't care about their lives anymore. And some people just go off quietly, don't they? Unfortunately, Nick didn't do that, just go off quietly and remove himself from this planet. He decided he was going to take his parents' lives before he did that. How selfish, isn't it, really? It's like he resented his parents just for not being as miserable as him. It's almost like that, isn't it? Anyway, yeah. So here he is wandering around. I don't know if it's before the first press conference or after it. And then the police swoop in on him and arrest him. Did he call them, I wonder? Do you think he called them to hand himself in? Because what else was he going to do, really? What else was he going to do? He would know everybody was out for him. Anyway, so he's in custody now.
Say right now. Also, if you would, please quote one question at a time so that we can hear the question and answer it appropriately. So if we could have that decorum in here. DA Nathan Hochman.
My name is Nathan Hochman. I'm the District Attorney of Los Angeles County. Today, I'm here to announce that our office will be filing charges against Nick Reiner, who is accused of killing his parents, actor-director Rob Reiner, and photographer-producer Michelle Singer Reiner. These charges will be 2 counts of first-degree murder with a special circumstance of multiple murders. He also faces a special allegation that he personally used a dangerous and deadly weapon, that being a knife. These charges carry a maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole or the death penalty. No decision at this point has been made with respect to the death penalty. We have requested, and currently Nick Reiner is being held without bail. Now,
No, I just want to say I saw somewhere else that there was no possibility of the death penalty. So I'm not sure whether there's a possibility he could face the death penalty or not. Personally, I think it's unlikely that he will face the death penalty. But, even if there is death penalty, the state, I was watching another podcast where saying the death penalty wasn't on the table. So we'll see.
In announcing these charges, I also want to announce that they're just that. They are charges. Charges are not evidence. Evidence is something that we will be presenting in a court of law to meet the standard of proof we meet in every criminal case, which is beyond a reasonable doubt, to 12 jurors who you'll unanimously have to find that we've met that standard to prove the charges we bring to court. Right now...
very important. It is all alleged at the moment. So, we have to remember that. And the police's concentration now will be putting the case together, making it an ironclad case. And they'll need it to be an ironclad case, as I say, when we find out who his solicitor is.
With respect to the process, once the charges get filed this afternoon, Nick Reiner will be then brought to court. He is going through medical clearance, something that everybody who gets arrested and gets held in a Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department jail goes through. Once he is medically cleared, he will be brought to court to be arraigned on these charges. At that point, he will enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. Now, prosecuting these cases involving family members are some of the most challenging and most heart-wrenching cases that this office faces, because of the intimate and often brutal nature of the crimes involved. Rob Reiner was a brilliant actor and director, an iconic force in our entertainment industry for decades. His wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, was an equally iconic photographer and producer. Their loss is beyond tragic, and we will commit ourselves to bringing their murderer to justice. I want to thank LAPD Chief McDonald, who is here today, along with Deputy Chief Alan Hamilton from the LAPD and LAPD Captain Scott Williams and the entire robbery homicide division, who literally has been working around the clock to gather the evidence that have led to the charges we're going to be filing today. Also from my office, I have Assistant District Attorney Maria Ramirez. I have Director of Specialized Prosecutions, John McKinney. I have our Head Deputy of Major Crimes, Craig Hum. And I have the two prosecutors who will be leading the prosecution in this case, Assistant Head Deputy of Major Crimes, Habib Balian, and Deputy District Attorney for Major Crimes, Jonathan Chung. They will bring their decades of experience to holding this murderer accountable for his actions. At this point, again, you will hear in the media rumors, you will hear speculation, you will hear hearsay. What I'm asking everyone to do is to rely on trusted sources.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from the district attorney's office, from LAPD, from the coroner's office, or from the courtroom itself. And there's a good chance you are hearing misinformation. Because at the appropriate time, the actual evidence involved in this case will be presented in a court of law. So I ask for your patience until that is.
That's it. So they can't, they want, if this guy is guilty, they want this ironclad case, don't they? Even though it might look like slam dunk, the guy could be found with their blood all over him. He could have been caught on CCTV doing it. But, until it comes to the actual court case, we have to hold our breath, even in the most, what might seem to us the most obvious crimes, that it's obvious that somebody is guilty. Ultimately, that is the society we live in, thank God. Everybody is innocent until proven guilty, even when it seems overwhelming that they are. And then even if it's proven that they are guilty, then, even if it seems obvious that they are guilty of killing of some form, then is it manslaughter? Was it self-defense? Another podcast I was watching, it was very interesting. They were coming up with all the possible defenses that this man might put up. If this Nick, the son of the Reiners, was it self-defense? Was it mental health? Was it manslaughter? Was it murder in the first degree? Is it murder in the second degree? There's so many different possibilities. So all this is yet to come, and it's a long way off, to be fair. And so he's right what he's saying. We can only they won't be able to release much information now before the trial. And that's always frustrating for the public, isn't it? For all of us. We want to know all the nitty gritty. We want to know all the ins and outs now. We don't want to wait 2 years for the trial, but we have to.
Done. But again, please do not rely on rank speculation, rumor, or hearsay to believe that you understand anything about what went on in this case. I'd now like to turn it over to Chief McDonald.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, and thank you all for being here today. And it's with deep sadness that I address the tragic loss of Robert and Michelle Reiner. On December 14th, 2025, LAPD officers from our West Los Angeles division responded to a death investigation at the 200 block of South Chadbourne Avenue, which is in the Brentwood section of Los Angeles. Upon entering the residence, they discovered the bodies of Mr. and Mrs. Reiner. Detectives from our Robbery Homicide Division, Homicide Special Section.
That'll have been a very gruesome sight, won't it? When we've listened to this, I am going to speculate a little bit on what might have happened, because it's quite hard to slit the throat of two people. How do you do that? You know, just doing the first person, the other person is going to be, you know, unless they're tied up or whatever, you know, you stand a chance of them fighting back. I mean, they were elderly. Well, you know, I think Rob is 78 and his wife's in her early 60s, maybe 63, 64. So, you know, that whereas the Nick is 30, I think 31 or in his early 30s, the prime of his life. So he'd be strong, also driven by psychosis, probably. So it's difficult to fight against someone like that. But did he catch them unawares? Was he in bed? Was he in bed? Was he sat watching the telly and he's come up behind them? You know, I'm starting to increasingly think maybe they were in bed, because why did they not fight? Well, we don't know that they didn't fight, to be fair, but, you know, it's quite difficult to overpower two people, isn't it, with I would imagine. But I suppose also he's the son. He's hating on them, but they don't hate him. He's their son, you know, so it'd be hard to attack your own flesh and blood, your son, wouldn't it? Even if he's experiencing this psychosis and coming for you, it'd be very hard to hurt your own child, I think, whatever age they were, son, daughter, whatever, very difficult, because you're not feeling that psychosis.
Immediately initiated a comprehensive investigation. The evidence gathered led to the arrest of their son, Nick Reiner, who was taken into custody later that night without incident in the Exposition Park section of our city. Today, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office has formally filed charges against Mr. Reiner for the murder of his parents. This case is heartbreaking and deeply personal, not only for the Reiner family and their loved ones, but for our entire city. We extend our deepest condolences to all of those who are affected by this tragedy.
Yeah, and the thing is with somebody like Rob, because he's famous and people will know, everybody will know one of his films at least, or one of his, if not, you know, people that of a certain age, or his age, they'll know all of them. You know, for me, it's from When Harry Met Sally, Misery, that he directed that film, Stand By Me, those kind of things. But for the Good Men film with Jack Nicholson, and so everyone will have a reason probably for remembering Rob, knowing about Rob. So this is not, as I say, it's the biggest tragedy, of course, is for Rob's family, Rob and Michelle's family. Then the wider sort of community there where they lived, and then, you know, all America, and then the world. I mean, those films will be known all over the world.
I want to take a moment to recognize and thank our criminal justice partners, the District Attorney's Office led by DA Hochman, and everyone who worked tirelessly on this investigation. Their swift action, professionalism, and commitment to justice have been instrumental in bringing clarity and accountability to this case. The LAPD remains steadfast in our mission to protect life and uphold justice. We will continue to support the Reiner family and ensure that every step forward is taken with care, dignity, and resolve. Thank you.
We'll now take some questions. Yes, right here in the front.
Could you talk about why?
Okay, now I'm going to finish that there, because they don't really say anymore. There's nothing more really that they can say, no more information to come out. But now I think this is very, very important. So Nick, now if we think about some of the reasons why Nick might have done this to his parents, that he might come up with for his defence. So he's going to have a defence, isn't he? Of course, everyone's entitled to a defence. Is he going to say it was self-defence? I mean, he'd be struggling with that, because, you know, even Rob, who's probably the stronger of the two, of Rob and Michelle, 78 years old, you know, he wouldn't have much chance against a 30-odd-year-old strapping big lad. So I don't know that self-defence would work. He'd have to prove that he had some self-defense wounds or something like that, wouldn't he? He may come up with the mental health card. He's got more chance with that, of course, because he's obviously not quite all there, is he? But to have done what he's done. But, you know, I was hearing somebody talk about that the thing is to prove that you've done it, you know, temporary insanity or because of mental health reasons. You know, that's a big thing to say. So you've got to virtually be, you know, hearing voices and, you know, schizophrenic, like prove that you were literally, it's not just, oh God, you had a mad moment. That doesn't stand for defense on the grounds of mental health. It's got to be more than that. So any sort of meditation, meditation would discount the, you know, even just planning it at all, going round to the house or going into their house from where you were staying in the sort of granny annex or whatever, would negate that, you know, because that show that you can't be really, you're not insane if you knew enough to know that, or if you knew enough to get out of there, to check yourself into a hotel, you know, all those things. So to prove insanity is very, very difficult, and you would have to be assessed. And, you know, it'd have to be extreme, really, for you to say that you did it on the grounds of insanity. So that's not a very good defence either. So I don't know what his defence is going to be. Is he going to be saying, oh, somebody else must have gone in there and did that? It was nothing to do with me. Well, what if he's covered in blood? Well, he could say that he's gone in there, like poor Rom, he had to go in and find her parents there. He's gone in there, found his parents deceased, tried to resuscitate them, and then panicked because he knew he would be the one that would be blamed. Is he going to come out with that story? You know, he can't come out with the story that Brian Walsh came out with, not that it did him any good, you know, for his wife, Anna Welsh. He can't come out with that story and say, oh, we just found them dead of natural causes, because, you know, the bodies were there and they've gone off to the forensic examiner, and it seems like they did, you know, have their throats slit, bless them. So what is he going to come up with? Now, I'll tell you what, he'll come up with something. And the reason why I'm saying that is because now, when we know who his lawyer is, so let's see if you know this person. So here's his defense attorney, Alan Jackson. Now, might not mean much to you, that. Alan Jackson, who's he? Well, I'll tell you who he was. This is the guy who defended Karen Reid successfully. So Karen Reid, a lot of you know, I didn't cover the case extensively, only a couple of times maybe, or maybe even only once, that I did a video about Karen's case, probably because I think at the time the Erin Patterson case trial was going on and I was more concentrating on that. But she is the woman who mowed down, it seems, ran over her policeman boyfriend and left him to die in the snow after drinking copious amounts. And she was found not guilty. So he successfully defended her. Something's kicking around in the back of my mind that didn't he start having a relationship with her as well? I don't know if that's true, to be honest. That might be just something I've sort of picked up and I'm wrong about. In fact, I'm going to Google that. I know there's probably some of you that maybe followed that case more closely. Why is it kicking in my mind that he had a relationship with her? She definitely seemed to end up having a relationship with someone that was to do with her. Yeah. So Alan Jackson is Karen Reid's lead criminal defense attorney, a professional relationship that became fodder for public speculation and rumours due to photos showing affectionate moments between them during the high-profile murder trial, even as he represented her in court and joined her civil defence team for the subsequent wrongful death suit, with both hinting at future projects together after her acquittal. So this is going to add even more, attention to this case. Gosh, California-based lawyer. Yeah. So they announced plans to collaborate on a scripted project based on her case, indicating a continued professional alliance. Wonder if they're going to be on Netflix. So the rumours, there were cuddling photos surfaced of him embracing Reed outside a steakhouse while the jury deliberated, despite him being married. So there's no proof of more than a professional relationship, but they certainly seem to get close. So there was supposed to be a court appearance. Was it the arraignment? I think they call it, don't they? Oi! So the dog's just come up and nutted me. Let's have a look at this video.
Obviously, Nick Reiner was supposed to be in court today, but was not medically cleared. So we want to talk a little bit more about that and the latest here in this investigation. So let's bring in a friend here of Live Now from Fox, Nima Rahmani, former federal prosecutor, joining us here with the latest. And Nima, so paint the picture for our audience here. He was supposed to be in court. What does that mean, not medically cleared? What is going on behind the scenes?
Mike, thanks for having me. Obviously, an incredibly tragic case. So when you're talking about Nick Reiner's medical clearance, it could really mean one of a few things.
Oh, no, I don't want to watch this. I wanted to, because he actually spoke, the lawyer. He came out and spoke about it. That's what I want to see, is what he had to say. Let's see. Yeah, so there's a big deal being made of this, of course, because he is a high-profile lawyer, and he's got this track record now of clearing someone who everyone thought.
We continue to bring you some of the day's biggest top stories, as well as live feeds from all over the country. We are just moments away from bringing you the.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Some news out of Southern California concerning Nick Reiner, who is facing 2 charges of murder for the deaths of his mother and father, Rob and Michelle Reiner. Alan Jackson is now representing Nick Reiner.
You know, this is a big thing, isn't it? So this was him arriving at the home.
Mr. Jackson, what's the plan here? Oh, there he is. Jim? Yeah. Go.
There he is.
What's the plan here, sir?
Yeah, so he's used to being high profile. Now that Karen Reed trial definitely brought him into the public view. You know, it's so sad, isn't it, to see all the Christmas things around here? You know, everybody gearing up for Christmas. Apparently this Reiner's because it was Hanukkah that started. But, you know, as the holiday season started, they would open up their home and have parties. And that's, you know, they were having the Obamas around that evening, weren't they? So, yeah, sad. But anyway, that's him arriving at the home. What I'm really looking for is I want to show you him coming out of the courthouse after the arraignment. Let's see.
Has to be medically cleared before they can be transported to court. He has not been medically cleared. It's just a procedural issue. MCJ, Vince County Jail.
Just to triple confirm, the murder case has not been filed.
I have not received any filing, and I don't believe the court has received any filing at this point.
You've spoken to your client at all?
I'm not commenting any further than what the procedure of the court today is.
How is your client's spirits today?
He's not here. That's the whole point. He's not here yet. We'll be back day to day. The bailiff has indicated that the sheriff's department will take it on a day by day basis, and so hopefully he'll be cleared tomorrow, and we can get him here.
And again, the reason why we're not having it today.
Oh my goodness! How many more times do I have to say it?
Sorry,
Eric. Why is he not here today?
Medical
clearance. He's not been medically cleared.
That's right.
Not medically cleared.
Correct. Every single inmate goes through a medical clearance before they can be transferred to court. Everyone. And that's a process. It's just a procedural issue. And he has not yet been medically cleared.
Do you mind? Can you describe his state of mind at all?
He's not here.
I understand that.
I haven't seen it.
At all?
No. I'm not saying that. I've seen it today.
Have you had any communication?
I'm not commenting any further than the procedural issues today.
Can you tell us who's retained you?
No, as I said, Eric, I'm not commenting any further than the procedures that are occurring today.
Yeah, who has
his reason for not coming today? I know.
Sorry, we will watch that one more time, but who has retained his services? Because Nick hasn't got any money, that's for certain, unless he's doing it on a pro bono basis, because you know what, just the publicity of this case, could you imagine what it's worth? You wouldn't need to get paid for your services. The publicity, gosh, he's already high profile because of Karen Reid case. You know, this would just project him off the wall, really, won't it? So I wonder who's paying, if anybody is paying for his services, or is he operating pro bono? I wonder. He's not going to say, obviously. I don't blame him. I mean, he doesn't have to say.
We talked about it on the elevator, but why is he here?
Every inmate has to be medically cleared before they can be transported to court. He has not been medically cleared. It's just a procedural issue.
You look angry there.
MCJ, Vince County Jail.
Whoever said that, then whatever, he looked angry.
I have not received any filing, and I don't believe the court has received any filing at this point.
You've spoken to your client at all?
I'm not commenting any further than what the procedure of the court today is.
How is your client's spirits today?
He's not here. That's the whole point. He's not here yet. We'll be back day to day. The bailiff has indicated that the sheriff's department will take it on a day by day basis, and so hopefully he'll be cleared tomorrow, and we can get him here.
And again, the reason why we're not having it today.
Oh my goodness! How many more times do I have to say it?
Sorry,
Eric. Why is he not here today?
Medical clearance.
He's not been medically cleared.
That's right.
Not medically cleared.
Correct. Every single inmate goes through a
Clever guys, clever guys.
Everyone. And that's a process. It's just a procedural issue. And he has not yet been medically cleared.
Do you mind? Can you describe his state of mind at all?
He's not here.
I understand that.
I haven't seen it.
At all?
No. I'm not saying that. I've seen it today.
Have you had any communication?
I'm not commenting any further than the procedural issues.
So from what you said there, he has seen him, but just not today. So, Yeah, who contacted him? I wonder. You can just imagine. Would it be him? You know, Nick thinking, "Oh well, let's get this guy." He got Karen Reid off with it. Anyone who could get Karen Reid, I mean, she was as guilty, or appeared to be. I mean, of course, she was found not guilty, so I can't say that. But she appeared to be as guilty as sin, didn't she? But he got her off. So. Who can you imagine? Did somebody say to Nick, "Oh, look, I know what we'll do. We'll get you that guy that defended Karen Reid"? Or was it Nick himself thought, "Let's get this guy"?
Can you tell us who's retained you?
No, as I said, Eric, I'm not commenting any further than the procedures that are occurring today.
Yeah. You seem to know
His
Eric.
reason for not coming today, I know we talked about it on the elevator, but
I wonder if he'd tell Eric, you know, tell Eric sort of privately who retained him, and then it would come out as a leak. That's what they do, don't they? Is it leaked? And it'd be like, "Oh, he didn't say it. No, he didn't say that it was Nick who contracted him." Anyway, a couple more things that I just want to look at before I finish. It's been quite a deep dive into this case. This case just really breaks my heart because I just feel these parents will have gone through hell with this boy, and they will have tried their very best to save him from himself. And unfortunately, not only they couldn't save him from himself, they couldn't save themselves. He took them with him. Oh, there's another couple of things I just want to look at. Let's look at this first of all. This might give us a little bit of an insight into what these parents were dealing with. Nick Reiner would not sleep for days. He would punch walls during meth-fueled rages. This is what these poor people, despite all their money, fame, whatever, this is what they were dealing with. And you know what? Now, I just want to say, because the Southport attacker, who I won't mention his name, who killed those 3 little angels there in Southport on the Taylor Swift workshop thing in the summer. Was it the summer this year or last year? I think it was last year, wasn't it? And their parents have come in for a lot of stick. His parents, sorry, I should say. So the parents of the perpetrator came in for a lot of stick, that they should have reported him to the police. They should have done this. They should have done that. But they did try to get help for him, mental help. Now, don't forget, they're not rich. Rob was rich and he couldn't get the help for his son. Well, he could get the help, but his son wasn't taking it. And it says things that I've read about his son, what he would do. He would take his medication until he started feeling better. This is just a common thing that people with mental health issues do. Take their medication when they get to their lowest. And they start to feel better, they feel great, and they stop taking their medication because they think, "Oh, I'm fine now, I don't need to take the medication." It's so common. It's like if you smoked, and you get bronchitis. I used to do this when I smoked. I don't smoke now, I've given it up, luckily for me, though sometimes I really could do with a cigarette. You get bronchitis because you smoke, and it's worse because you smoke. And so you stop smoking for a while and you start to feel better. What do? You have a cigarette. This is what people with mental illness do. When they get to be adults, you cannot force, when they get to be even old enough, to at least, I think that Southport attacker was 17, so was sort of still classed as a child, I think. Not sure, as far as psychological help and that. But even so, how do you get a grown person, to go to the doctors if they don't want to go? I mean, and to be fair, even that perpetrator himself, he had referred himself. He had looked for help. He had virtually told people he was going to kill someone. But of course, then the mental health, especially the national health in the UK, you've got a year waiting list or whatever, at least a year, to even get to see a psychologist. And then it takes time before people start getting better. They don't get better just because they went to see a psychologist once. Rob was in a position where Rob and Michelle could pay for help for Nick, but it still didn't work. I think anyone who think, oh, they should have done this or they should have done that, or why didn't they do this? If you don't walk in their shoes, you have no idea how it feels to have your son or daughter or any loved one. It could be your husband, your wife, your mum or dad, someone who you love. It's not like looking at it coldly from the outside. There's emotions in there. How are you going to phone the police and get your child arrested? How are you going to, have them sectioned? How you it's so difficult, and you want them to be better. You can look at it from the outside and see somebody else's child, somebody else's loved one, and think, oh, I wouldn't have that. You have no idea what you would do if you're in that situation. Literally no idea. So you should not judge. And I felt for that Southport perpetrator's parents, because they've taken all this hassle, and they probably went through hell with him. He was violent towards them. They tried their best to help him, and really, apart from tying him to the bed so that he couldn't go out that day or whatever, but they didn't know, of course, what he was going to do. And people say, oh, you should be in their rooms and look and see what they're doing on social media. How are you supposed to do that with a 16-year-old, 17-year-old? How are you supposed to do that? Somebody tell me how you can do it. You can't. You have to live with them, and you make your best, you try your best to make the peace and try and cope, help them as much as possible. But also, it's difficult for the people. Believe me, it's not people with mental illness that go through hell, but also the families that live with them and try and help them, try and cope with them. They go through hell as well. The parents, the siblings, if you were being a sibling of someone who's going through all that, difficult, because you often are on the brunt end of it. And there was that case, wasn't there, in London, the guy who luckily he was thwarted. He was on it, Nicholas. He was on his way to primary school to shoot it. Bought a gun illegally, hadn't he? And he, luckily for the school, but not luckily for her, his mum woke up and wondered what he was doing. So he shot his mum, killed his brother, killed his sister, and then set off, and he was going to shoot up a primary school, but luckily by then he was apprehended and stopped from doing any more. Young lad, 18 years old, probably they don't mention the drug problems, but I bet 100% he'd been sat in his room smoking weed or doing whatever. He's definitely taking something. Don't just, at one time he would have been his mum's little boy, following her around everywhere, loving her, and then at some point he stopped loving her and hated her, even to the point where he then shot her. And afterwards he wasn't even sorry. He just said, my stupid mum stopped me doing what I wanted to do. Just heartbreaking. So what I'm trying to say is, I think, please don't judge parents who you think didn't do enough, like with the Southport attacker. They've took, a lot of criticism, and my heart just bleeds for them, because I expect they tried very hard, and they just didn't know what to do. And they did go to the authorities, they did go to the police, they did go, try and get help for him, and it just wasn't forthcoming. And then with these poor people, it seems like they did get help for their son. He did go in rehab and things, and he did the bloody film project with him and everything, and it all looked like it was on the up and up, and he just relapsed. Now, whether it was because of his mental illness, or maybe it's just a selfish toe rag, do you know what I mean? A selfish, entitled Nepo baby. Let me know what you think in comments. Do you think there's any sympathy that needs to be felt for Nick Reiner for doing this, allegedly? Or do you think he knew exactly what he was doing and he's just a twonk? He's another late entry for Twonk of the Year. God, we're going to have a list of Twonks of the Year coming out of our ears this year. You know, and so now I'm surprised he didn't have any guns. You know, maybe he wasn't allowed to keep guns because of his mental health history and that. Because, you know, he apparently had a knife. So that's something that will come into it, isn't it? Did he take a knife deliberately into their house, or did he just get a knife from the kitchen on the spur of a moment as they were in the middle of an argument? You know, there are differences, aren't there, between that? Anyway, sorry, let's watch this. This is really making me think, and I think this case, the only good thing that can ever possibly come out of this case is it going to start a discussion, a proper discussion about all these young people that are killing their parents, or, you know, with mental health issues. And I tell you, there needs to be a talk about, people can say till they're blue in the face that cannabis is nothing. It is a lot. He's self-confessed smoker of cannabis. He just wanted to get back to smoking weed and have the life he had before. That's why he relapsed. He said that in his own words. You know, the cannabis these days, this skunk, it's laced with drugs, you know, chemicals, sorry, and it affects young people's mental state. He started on drugs when he was very young, so was his mind irretrievably damaged? It's not the same as just having a spliff at the weekend, smoking drugs from the age of 13 and then smoking them every day, like, so you know, that's all you're doing. It's not good for you. It's not.
Hollywood director Rob Reiner and his wife of 36 years, Michelle, were found stabbed to death inside their Brentwood home. Law enforcement sources confirmed Monday that the couple's son, Nick, who has a problematic history that involves drug addiction and homelessness, has been arrested and is in custody of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department. So who is Nick Reiner? Here's what we know so far. 78-year-old Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle Singer Reiner, were found dead the afternoon of December 14th by their daughter, Romy, who immediately told cops the killer was another family member, TMZ reported. The A Few Good Men director and his 68-year-old...
I personally think Michelle, when I look at Michelle, she looks weary in her eyes and her face, because, you know, they say you're only ever as happy as your unhappiest child. And her unhappiest child was extremely unhappy, wasn't he?
...old wife were both found with their throats slit, according to the outlet. Sources told the Post that stab wounds to their throats were among multiple wounds throughout their bodies. Their horrified daughter quickly told investigators that a, quote, dangerous relative should...
You know, when you look along, look, this guy, this is him. You know, he looks very happy, the older son, and Ron always seems to put a brave face on it. I think Michelle does look world weary. You know, they're trying to make a family dynamic, and it's just not working because of him. Look at his face. You know, bloody spoilt brat, entitled brat, and poor Romy. You know, having to, I know she's sort of leaning away from him a bit, trying to make the best of everything. Odd, isn't it? That, you know, just makes you think they've all been brought up the same by the same parents. And it makes you wonder, are people, you know, just born that way? You know, was he born an entitled Nepo baby? You know, like, would it not have mattered what they did for him, didn't do? I'm sure they did for him what they did for the rest of their children. You know, why has he turned out differently? Strange, isn't it?
...could be a suspect, sources told the outlet, suggesting it came during a heated argument. Later that night, Rob's 32-year-old son, Nick Reiner, was detained and has been charged with murder, law enforcement...
No, they say eyes are the window to the soul. This guy, his eyes, it is like hell, isn't it, looking into them? I mean, I feel for him because probably can't even help the way he is. And I expect he hasn't been happy, but he has been given every privilege. Imagine saying to your dad being a famous film director, and you say, "Oh, I've got an idea for a film, Dad," and your dad making a film for you, using your idea, letting you have your artistic reign, how many people, so many few people that would be able to do that, that would have a parent who could do that for them, and he still didn't appreciate it.
And sources confirmed. Friends and neighbors of the Reiners told the Post on Monday that he was notorious for being violent, while a former classmate said they instantly knew he was the one who allegedly murdered his parents.
Very sad.
This is not the first time their son has been violent, a longtime neighbor of the victim said. I know of another incident a few years back with Nick, but I won't say more than that. I just never thought it would ever get to this point.
You never think it'll
Just
get that.
one night earlier, on Saturday, December 13th, Nick accompanied his parents to famed talk show host Conan O'Brien's Christmas
that's
party,
the guy.
where he got into a, quote, very loud argument with his father, Reiner family sources told TMZ. The sources added that Rob and Michelle had been lamenting to close friends over Nick's mental health and addiction issues in recent months. Nick, who has been candid about his struggle with battling drug addiction and homelessness in the past, was first sent to rehab at the age of 15. In a 2016 interview, he told People, I was homeless in Maine, I was homeless in New Jersey, I was homeless in Texas. I spent nights on the street, I spent weeks on the street. It was not fun. I met crazy great people there, so out of my element. Now I've been home for a really long time, and I've sort of gotten acclimated back to being in LA and being around my family, he added. He later co-wrote a semi-autobiographical film directed by his father called Being Charlie, about his 17 visits to rehab, and said being a vagrant was a valuable experience. That made me who I am now, having to deal with that stuff, he told the outlet. While promoting their movie, the father-son duo opened up about their dynamic.
It really clicked for me because we didn't bond a lot as a kid. But I just, when I saw him do that, and it was something that I'm interested in, I was like, wow, like he really knows a lot. And like, it made me feel closer to him and be like, yeah.
You're like, wow, my dad's Rob Reiner.
Listen, I had to talk to him about this. Listen, I know what it's like to be the son of, and to have people assume certain things about you, and it's very, very difficult. But they don't know. They don't know what he's experienced. They don't know what he's gone through.
During a September 2015 interview,
See him defending him, and that's what good dads do. He's defending his son. His son's a twonk, but he's defending him. I mean, we all defend our children, don't we? Of course you do. Even if you might say to them in private, look, you shouldn't have done this or you shouldn't have done that, or blah, 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 blah. But you defend your children with your life, don't you?
with the LA Times, Rob expressed regret at how he handled his son's addiction battle. When Nick would tell us that it wasn't working for him, we wouldn't listen. We were desperate, and because the people had diplomas on their wall, we listened to them when we should have been listening to our son.
Well, you know what? I would disagree with that. I think you have to listen to the people with the diplomas on their wall because they're listening to him, but he would say what suited him, because he's the addict. He's the one he's in it. The people with the diplomas on their wall, they do know how, and I know this from experience within my family, your loved one, be it your son, be it your brother, be it your father or mother or husband or wife or whatever, they will manipulate you because you are emotionally involved. So they know exactly how to get around you. They know exactly the things to say and the buttons to push to get what they want. With professional people, they can't do that because the professional people have heard it all before. And the things that they say that you think, oh my God, that can't possibly work, they work. So I don't agree with him there. He shouldn't have listened to his son, should have listened to the people with diplomas on the wall, because his son has only got his own interests at heart. Because you know what, if his son is schizophrenic or bipolar or whatever mental illness maybe he had, those are selfish illnesses in the senses that because of their illness, they can't think about any, they're only thinking about themselves. That's just the nature of their illness. So a professional person will give you a more dispassionate view on what's really going on. And I think it's hard for a parent to, not only a parent, but I'll say a brother, a sister, anyone who loves the person. It's hard for them to step back and see it for where it really is, but you can see it from the outside. But when your emotions are involved, you can't see it.
Told the outlet. In Nick's last public appearance, 3 months before he allegedly stabbed his parents to death, he walked the red carpet with them. They were accompanied by Nick's siblings, Jake and Romy, to the September premiere of Rob's new movie, Spinal Tap 2, at the Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles. Later that month, Rob mentioned having, quote, bad children when asked which of his films he would most like to be remembered for.
Well, I mean, listen, people have their favorites. They, and we, the cliche, we love all our children, even the bad ones,
Following his arrest, Nick Reiner is currently being held in custody on $4 million bail. Page 6 confirmed.
He's not no bail
His
now.
father, Rob Reiner's legendary career in directing includes notable films such as The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, and A Few Good Men.
Oh God, I don't want to see him. Definitely don't want to see him. Okay. So, I've got one more video I want to show. This is a big, is a big long video, but it's, do you know what? So complicated, this case. And the other thing that I just want to say about it as well is it just shows you as well, it's not, because often single mothers get a bad press, like about, oh, it's the moms indulge them too much. This is a couple. And these sort of things don't only happen single moms. They happen to all sorts of people. These sort of issues that this couple will have been facing, doesn't matter if it's a single parent, doesn't matter if they've got money, if they haven't got money, if they've got extended family, they haven't got extended family. Listen, there is no parameters for this sort of issue. It can happen to anybody, anywhere, anytime, any religion. These are Jewish. The Jewish religion. There's there'll be a lot of friends and family. I mean, they weren't alone. They weren't an isolated family. Just shows you is the issue here is the drug abuse and the mental illness. And do you know what? Sometimes I honestly, I'm increasingly believing that it's like demons are around and they get into people. It's almost like a possession, isn't it? Why did Nick end up the way he did, but his other two siblings don't seem to have gone down that road? And yet they've all had the same upbringing. This is, it's a fascinating thing, really. It needs to be studied because people are dying because of it. People are dying in these tragic circumstances, so it needs mental illness. Like cancer gets a lot of investigation, doesn't it? As it should, or any, illness, physical illness that can be investigated if it can be helped and help to abate it or assuage it or cure it. But mental illness, just because of its very nature where you can't see it, he wasn't walking around with a broken leg with a plaster cast on, and then he's got mental illness, but it's just as drastic as cancer, if not more so, because people can't see it. And it doesn't get much sympathy either. Probably when, like, obviously Rob and Michelle would be giving him sympathy because they were his parents. But maybe when they were trying to talk about it to their friends or whatever, they'd be like, well, look, you just need to cut him off, just need to do this, just need to do that. So they don't understand, one, the emotional ties when it's your own loved one, but also, if Nick had cancer, everyone would be all sympathetic towards him. But this is worse than cancer, I think, because it's unseen. There's no treatment for it, or it feels like there's no treatment for it. Very difficult. It's brought up it brings up so many questions. Anyway, I just want to look at this. Is it this one? Not this one. Yeah. So this is the Brian Entin podcast. Brian Entin is off, I think, is it News Nation or the other one? But also he does his own podcast. And he interviewed this lady. She's an ex-FBI agent, but she knew the Reiners as well. And very interesting, I think, how she found out about it and what she has to say about it.
Had taken place, and Mike
really well liked from what I've been told today, just walking around the neighborhood. I'm joined now by Maureen O'Connell. You are a retired FBI agent,
Yep.
But you were actually out there last night.
Yes, I went there yesterday.
What happened?
I got a phone call from a friend, a Jewish friend, who had heard from a very good friend of the family that this tragic event had taken place. And my concern was that Jewish people were being, targeted, because don't forget, we had that huge, terrifying event on Bondi Beach. So I thought, could this be related?
So you can see, can't you, when you first heard about it, it was that day of the Festival of Light, the beginning of Hanukkah, and that would have been all over the news, and especially within the Jewish community, about the Bondi Beach thing that had happened. So, yeah, you can see straight away, probably the last thing from her mind, or anybody's mind, except the families who knew that he was volatile, the brother. You should be thinking, oh my God, this is a hate crime, Has somebody just walked into their home and done that?
Could this be could this be happening all over the country, so to speak? So I just went over there, and I talked to some of the neighbors that were outside, and one man approached my vehicle, and he said to be very careful because the person they were looking for was on foot, the assailant was on foot, and that I should just be very careful, which I wasn't worried, but okay. And then I asked him what he had heard that happened, and he said both Rob Reiner and his wife have both passed away. And initial reportings were that one had passed away, but not the other. And so he said, no, now it's both. And, unfortunately, that turned out to be true. Many people in the neighborhood say that the son, Nick, had been troubled his whole youth. And again, another tragedy, but to stab both your parents is just, and then for the sister to find them is just unbelievable on Hanukkah,
And the sister, she lived right there?
She lives right across the street, is my understanding from what the neighbors say. The neighbors say that they're just a very vibrant family. They have a lot of, they entertain a lot. They're just great. They're just, by all accounts.
Yeah, you could tell from the decorations at the house. It kind of has that vibe, like it has a happy
it absolutely
feel
does.
to it.
Yeah.
Did you get any more information about what happened? Like, I mean, we know that they were stabbed, but is there any more detail?
No, just from all the neighborhood blogs. What good does that? It's not true reporting, but people are saying that the attack was on their necks, or they were slashed.
Yeah,
their throats.
Well, that's what we've been reporting too. That's, yeah. How soon after was it when you got there?
Pretty soon.
So you can see, it's just stunning, isn't it, to the whole community, and it will resonate especially with the Jewish community after what happened on Bondi Beach and that, and it's like Hanukkah is like the Jewish Christmas, isn't it? So the Festival of Light is supposed to be a time of hope and all those nice things, and it's ended up being we feel like, are we waiting for one more thing to happen now? Because that's two horrible things that have happened. This is not related to them being Jewish, though, of course. This is related to mental illness, family problems, etc. But yeah, very, very sad, isn't it, the whole thing? But Look, I think I'm going to leave it there for now. I mean, there's so much more. This is going to be a massive case, as I say. Now, the lawyer that's got involved is the Karen Reed's lawyer. So the police have got to be especially careful because he's a good lawyer. At the end of the day, he's a defense lawyer. As you know, I never understand how defense lawyers can sleep at night, getting people off on murder, and that just doesn't sit well with me. But anyway, somebody's got to do it because these perpetrators under our system, they have got a right to a defense, they've got a right to a fair trial. Nick will have his chance. He'll have his chance to say his piece, whatever it is. Is he just a spoiled, entitled Nepo baby? Or is he a genuine haunted soul, and will he be in absolutely remorseful now, knowing that he's just killed, allegedly, probably the people that cared about him most in the world, maybe even the only people who cared about him in the world. And I think as far as money's concerned, it's almost like he's cut off his money supply, because I don't think he'll be able to inherit anything if he's found guilty of killing them. I don't think he can inherit. The rest of his family are not going to want to give him any money, are they? As time goes on, they might start thinking, well, their parents would have wanted them not to desert him, probably, because I'll tell you what, that mother and father, they loved this man so much. They tried their very best all his life. So for 31 years, well, certainly since he was 13, maybe 15, so probably for the last 15, 16 years, they have tried their best to, help this guy get through, surpass his demons, whatever they were. They've tried their best, and it's ended up in this. I find this story absolutely heartbreaking. It's one of the saddest cases that I can remember, maybe because it touches me, because there's elements in my family that I understand this and what these parents have been through. And I think probably most of us, if you look, don't ever think, your family's immune from mental health issues. They're not. Teenagers go through dark times, and we hope that they go through them and come through them and don't wind up like Nick has wound up, even though, he had all if they couldn't even save him with all their resources. Imagine then what it's like for families who don't have those resources, trying to cope with children who've got drink issues, substance issues, just heartbreaking to watch your child. 1 minute they're your little Johnny or little Janie, because, girls go through it too. It's not just boys, it's girls too. They didn't tell you that when people want to have children, people, oh yeah, lovely little baby and that. And you sort of, when they're little, you think they're difficult, but it's nothing to as they are when they get older. And you never stop worrying about your kids. Your kids, your child could be, I don't know, 2, could be 20, could be 40, could be 50, could be 60 if you're lucky enough to live that long. You'll never stop worrying about them. That's how it is, isn't it? You don't realise that until you actually have children. That's the other thing, people who don't have children, and I've been there myself before I had children, it just all looks so easy from the outside. Why don't you just do that? Or why don't you just say this? Or I don't understand why you're having that problem. It's difficult. It's difficult to be a parent. And I think you don't realise that till you're a parent yourself. And the same for me when I was a child, lots of things my parents, I didn't understand why they didn't do this or they didn't do that. And then you get older and you have children, you start to understand it's not easy. Being a parent is not easy. I think parents deserve a bloody medal. Never mind, I remember my son saying to me, oh, why do you have a Mother's Day and a Father's Day and we don't have a Son's Day? He said this year. I said, well, every day is a Son's Day. Every day is a son's day or a daughter's day. Every single day. So just for one day of a year, we want a Mother's Day or a Father's Day or, you know, yeah, and it's true. But of course, when I was younger, I would have agreed with him. But anyway, okay, I'm waffling a bit now. So I'm going to go. It's food for thought, this case. I hope you're all okay and looking forward to Christmas. We just need to, you know, I just want to say a prayer for this family. And even for Nick, because you know what, Nick, whatever, he's lost the people who loved him most to his own hands. And he's got to live with that for the rest of his life. Now, this life, he's only in his 30s. He's got a long life in front of him, probably in prison. And to think about how he took away the people who loved him, took away from himself, not only from the world and the rest of his family, the people who loved him the most. So I think what we'll do, I'm going to put a candle up for them. I'm going to say a little prayer, a little silent prayer for them. And now I'm going to put their picture up and a little bit of music before I finish. I hope you'll join me in saying a prayer for them, but also for the rest of the family, and look at the Christmas they're facing this year. But anyway, thank you for watching. Until I see you again, may your God go with you. Bye.